Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pup, Pup, and Away podcast. You guys know me. I'm Steph, the Pro Dog Mom. I'm a certified dog trainer, canine behaviorist, and canine nutritionist, and the very proud owner of Pup, Pup, and Away in San Antonio, Texas, where we specialize in pet care with a behavioral edge. That's things ranging from socialization to training to overnight boarding care, and all kinds of different things in between. Today, I'm really excited about our guest, Dominika with Dog Meets Baby. I've been following her social media account on Instagram for quite some time. Some of you guys may know I got married 2 years ago. We were possibly thinking about having babies maybe in the near future. And so this is a topic that I'm very excited to learn more about myself because, I feel like I know I've taught classes and taught people how to prepare for baby coming into the home, different behaviors that I think dogs should know, but I've never lived with a kid and a baby at the same time. So there's, I'm sure, a bunch of different things, that I'm not aware of. So very interested to learn more from that too. So first of all, Dominika, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Tell us a little bit about you and your dog training experience.
Sure. I'm the owner and the founder of Dog Meets Baby. I have two kids, the twins. They're 9. It's hard to believe. And I also we have one dog right now. We said goodbye to our Labrador Retriever Lola, who was the inspiration behind starting Dog Meets Baby. We said goodbye in March, and everyone who lost a dog knows it's a process. It's ups and downs, and it
Good days,
comes
bad
in
days,
waves.
yeah.
Exactly. So we're right now. It's a little bit better. It's been 5 months, but of course it's not. It's still hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lola was kind of a big inspiration for you. I'm guessing your human baby's being 9, and then just having lost Lola 5 months ago, there was a lot that you, I'm sure, had to learn kind of right off the get-go. So was most of your experience, like with Dog Meets Baby, mostly from like personal experience that you went through with your family?
Oh no. I've been the trainer for a long time. So
Okay.
I started training. I don't know, a long time ago. 17 years ago, probably.
Cool.
So it's, I've been the trainer for a long time, and
Okay.
then I worked with families before, and then I had my children 9 years ago. And what happened is that my dog, Lola, a yellow Labrador Retriever, as sweet as they come, she had a scary predatory reaction to my children, which is very rare. I don't want anyone to think that this is something that happens frequently. It doesn't,
Right.
luckily. But it was definitely something that was very scary, very serious, and something I did not expect at all. As a trainer, it was very traumatizing. But as a trainer, after the initial shock, I knew what to do. And much later, it wasn't right away, it was a few years later, when my kids they must have been like 2 or 3, maybe 3, I started thinking about this because I started meeting people who also had not the kind of first meeting that they envisioned. And I just realized that this is something that, first of all, many parents who already have dogs that are, let's say, a little bit more difficult, reactive, they already maybe have shown aggression towards children, that this is something that's on your mind when you are expecting. And I had parents who told me, I don't worry about labor. That's nothing. What I worry about is how my dog is going to react to my child.
Yeah.
So this is definitely something that was that I kept hearing, and I realized I can train. I don't know how many people. Let's say I can work with 5 families a day, right? There were 6 families a day, and then the pandemic hit, and I had more time, let's say. I mean, my kids were home. They were 4, so it's not like, I was
a walk in the park.
Yeah, no, not at all. So, but I had more time, right? Like I was home more, and I decided to start Dog Meets Baby. And because I liked Instagram, I was like, oh, I'm going to do it on Instagram.
Very
And
cool.
it just took off. It was just such a, you know, in some ways it was a good time, because people were home and everybody was on their phones more, and more on Instagram. So it just took off.
Yeah.
And then a year later, when I really realized how much need there is for something like how to introduce your dog to your baby, that's when I created the first course that's called The First Meeting.
Awesome.
But it was definitely inspired by my experience with Lola. That was just something that, you know, if someone told me that this would have happened, I would not have believed, because she was just such an amazing dog.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I have two schnauzers. One of them is a 16-year-old old man. I don't know if you can see him. He's always just hanging
I
out
can.
there. Today you're also graced by my 7-year-old Rishi. She's hanging out in the
Oh
kennel.
yeah.
Anyway, this guy's on the move now. Sully does not have a good history with kids. I got him when I was a sophomore in college, and I was in College Station, so socialization to children was not an experience that he got, and I did not notice how bad that was. I wasn't a dog trainer at the time, but I didn't notice like the long-term effect of it until I started to bring him home to hang out with my nieces and my nephews, who he had met one of them one time, and they're very close in age. My nephew's also 16 and this guy's 15. And so like I have pictures of them playing together, but not enough socialization to really form a good bond. And so with him, I know, you know, I'm the opposite of what you and Lola have. I'm the type of dog parent who potential mommy to be who's like, my dog's gonna be the jerk, and what can I do to prep for that? And I can only imagine that people who have dogs who are very well socialized, maybe it's other people's kids, you know, the nephews and the nieces of the family, never had a bad experience, would not even consider prepping their dog for something like this, because there's so many changes that go into it. And I really want to get into all of those. Another funny story, I have multiple clients in my daycare who I know they just recently had kids, human babies, and I could see it in the dog, right? They're more tired, right? They're a little bit more worn out because, I mean, the whole family's getting less sleep at night, right? Getting up in the middle of the night, change diapers and feed baby. Like the dogs also get the same experience too. And I don't think a lot of people think about that. So
yes, very true. But it's good that your clients still keep, you know, they have you and the daycare. That is something that's consistent in their life, and they're familiar with it. So that's great.
Yeah, so I'm gonna guess that one of your like tips and pieces of advice is like kind of keeping consistency as much as possible, which can be really hard to do when now you're juggling a whole brand new baby.
You know what? Not even that. It's more that I want people to plan for the 4th trimester, because a lot of times you don't know quite. I mean, you know, you prepare, you have an idea of what might happen, but then it hits you. So sometimes people, they have daycare or a dog walker, and they want to cancel because they're going to be home on maternity leave, or just, you know, they're just going to be home more, or work from home or work less, and we're going to go on walks together and it's going to be great. No, I always tell them, like, do not cancel. If anything, just like add more days. And this is one of the things that people will send me emails later telling me, thank you so much for this piece of advice, because it was, you know, otherwise the exercise would never happen. Because with, you know, first of all, you might be just really tired and sleep deprived, and the baby, you know, by the time you're ready to leave, then the baby poops, and then you have to change, and then something else, and the baby's hungry, and it's just, there are many medical appointments, or if you have a medical baby, I had a medical baby, that it's something that I wasn't planning on having a medical baby. So then suddenly your schedule is like very different than what you thought it would be. So it's just, there are just so many things that might happen, good and bad things, of course. And it's just better to, like, let's have a plan. If you have a daycare, absolutely do not change this. If there is a daycare you can sign up your dog for, do it ideally before the baby arrives, so the dog has time to get used to it. And you can also decide, is this something for our family? Is this something for our dog? A dog walker or a neighbor that can help, or sometimes there is a family member that can help you with walks. But this is something that maybe you're not going to need this as much as you think you would, but plan for it. Like, it's better to have I want everyone to have a solid plan for the exercise, because this is something that there's a lot of guilt, especially if you're a dog mom. Like, you really are, like, you do many things with your dogs. Your dogs are your babies. Like, Lola was my fur baby, right? Like, she was. And the thing that was, and we used to compete a lot. I'm a nosework instructor, so we were competing. We're doing like trainings every day. I loved this part. And suddenly I couldn't do it.
Sure.
And, I just couldn't, because I literally had zero time, right? Like, for myself. So I had zero time for Lola. I had a full-time dog walker, and that was a lifesaver. And, sorry, I lost my
You just don't expect, right? You, I think you're talking about the guilt of having the dog baby, and then now also.
Yes. And then it's just you feel so guilty because you cannot do anything. And like, I remember it was after the 3 a.m. feedings, I was spending 5 minutes with Lola on her dog bed. Literally, that's how much time I had. I also had a C-section, and there were just so many things that went, not like, it wasn't really the plan.
Yeah.
So it was just, and then the recovery and the medical baby, and it was just, and then Lola's reaction to my children. Of course, that was something I didn't expect. I didn't trust her. So then we had to keep them separated, because I was just so stressed around, even if her body language was absolutely relaxed, I didn't trust her. So that was another thing. Then, because of all of this, I ended up having postpartum anxiety, and that was another thing that I had to cope with. And it was just, it's just and you were so sleep deprived, and then there was your dog looking at you, and you just feel so guilty, and you really, like, you miss your dog. I really miss Lola. I miss doing things with her. At the same time, I just couldn't. I literally couldn't. So that's why, I think having someone like Andrew, my dog walker, like, he loved her, she loved him, and this was just like, she was going to the beach or she was going to the park, and she was coming home and was tired, and I knew that she was well taken care of, and I was outsourcing my guilt this way. I still felt guilty, but it was better, because at least I knew that she had a fun day. I was actually jealous of her. I was like, yes, I'm here so tired. I mean, of course I was happy, but it was just, I was just so tired. So I was like, well, she had a great day, so at least someone had like an easy, fun day.
It sounds like there can always be, like you mentioned, lots of different layers that no one was anticipating, right? Maybe you're planning to do a natural birth, but then you have to go for the C-section. We have the medical baby. Maybe baby comes early, maybe baby comes late, whatever the case may be. So it sounds like just having as much planned out as you possibly can, with the anticipation of, is it going to go completely to plan? Probably not, but at least that's one aspect that you can kind of like, not let go of, but just, I guess, relax a little bit, because you've prepped for that so much in the future. Earlier you had mentioned something about planning. Was it planning and being prepared by the 4th trimester, or like that's when you should start doing your planning?
No. So the 4th trimester is like, the first 3 months, the newborn phase, right? So the planning, ideally, this is where first trimester, when you're pregnant, I was very sick, and most women are really sick, and like, so this is the time for you. Like, don't like, I tell, like, if someone reaches out to me, I'm like, always like, we have time. Just once you feel better, the 2nd trimester energy kicks in, then that's when we can start working together. Gotcha. And if your dog has behavioral issues, or you're worried, that your dog needs time to get acclimated to the baby equipment, or it's just something that your dog, most people know that my dog is going to be, they're not going to care. Oh yes. Anytime we move furniture in the house, the dog is very anxious, right? So like that's when it's better to plan. And so this is the 2nd trimester. That's when you can start planning. But if you have a relatively easy dog and you have done training before, because most people have done some training. It's not that the dog doesn't know anything. And usually you just have to like brush up on the training and then focus on the baby stuff. Then I would say end of second trimester, it's a perfect time to really focus on this.
Okay, good to know. That is not so like dire emergency. We gotta dive deep, nose dive into it super quick.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, then I would do it right away, right? Like as soon as you feel better, start doing this. It's okay. It's not like you have to, like there is a certain time that you like, okay, like you're 15 weeks pregnant and you have to start training your dog. Well, maybe you want to go on baby moon now, then go on the baby moon and then train your dog. It's more that, like I have a preparation checklist. It's a free checklist on my website. And I always tell parents, look at the website, at the checklist, and there will be things that you will be able to check off, or it's just like something that's very simple for you to do, right? Like it doesn't, like you just have to do a little bit of planning. And then there will be things that you might need time to work on this. A big one is if your dog sleeps with you and you plan on having the baby in your bedroom, sometimes people already know that they will be co-sleeping, right? It's just something that you like usually like sometimes it doesn't go as you planned, but for the most part people like know, yes, my baby's going to be in the bedroom in a co-sleeper, let's say. And I have a big dog or two dogs and they sleep with me. It's not a safe situation to have a dog and a newborn in case you're feeding. And I never want anyone to put that baby accidentally on a sleeping dog because it just may not go well. Right?
Especially when you're sleep deprived. There's just
exactly
like
when you're sleep deprived and maybe, and you know, another thing is that like my case was extreme, but the truth is most dogs, even if you prepare them, there might be a day or two when they are a little bit unsure about the baby. As much as you prepare, you play the baby sounds, right? Like you practice with a doll or something that looks like a doll. You do all, like you work with that, you know, you do that, you walk with a stroller, you do all that training. A real baby is very different, all the smells and sounds. So it's very normal that your dog is going to be a little bit unsure at first. And some dogs, they might whine or bark or just pace or just be unsure. And then depending on how you feel about this, you can be like, I was mama bear, right? Like you are suddenly like, oh, like you, for the first time ever, you might really see that you live with an animal who has a mouth full of teeth. Yeah. And when you see that, then of course you will be like, this dog absolutely cannot stay in the bedroom. Like has to leave now, right? Because I'm not going to be able to sleep. Now, if you kick your dog out, the day your baby arrives, it's going to be traumatizing for everyone because then you're going to be stressed about this, even if you know that like I need to protect my baby, the dog has to be out. Especially if a lot of times the dogs are very interested and they just walk around and try to get closer and some muzzle punch the mesh on the crib, right? Like it's just a lot of interest, and that can also be very triggering for new parents because you are not sure what the dog actually wants, right? Like is the dog interested in a good way or is the dog really like you're just not sure? And sometimes it is a little like I mean it can be hard to tell in the first like hours when you see the dog with the baby. So it's much better to plan for this and prepare the dog for this. And it doesn't mean that you have to kick the dog out of the bedroom, but maybe the dog will sleep. I had like one of my clients, she had two like 90-pound dogs, right? Like big dogs, very muscular. And they really love to like jump on the bed, right? Like absolutely not safe if she was there with her tiny baby. Right. So she decided to put an exercise pen and like attached it to the walls, and then she put the dog beds there. She made it super cozy, and the dogs just started sleeping there when she was still pregnant. And then by the time the baby was there, they were totally acclimated to their new space. They actually preferred it, and you know, everybody felt good about this, right? Like the baby could sleep in the bedroom, the dogs were still in the bedroom, but they were in the exercise pen. Sometimes people add a gate to if they have a walk-in closet. You know, some dogs really like dark places. They like to like den-like places. So if your dog likes it, then maybe like having a dog bed there is a good solution. There are many ways you can do it. Some people put something around the crib, if that's what they choose. Sometimes one of the parents sleeps with the baby, one of the parents sleeps with the dog. There are many different ways you can do it, but it's good to plan for this, so you're not suddenly, because it is one of the most stressful type of emails that I get when it's, you know, like day one, the baby's home, or day two, and the mom is sending an email. I'm locked in my bedroom. I'm terrified of my dog. I cannot stop crying. The dog keeps howling and barking. It's mayhem.
Yeah.
What do I do now, right? Like, and this is you're not in the space to do much in that moment, because you just have a new baby that you're just, you know, like just getting used to so many new things.
Wow. I love that you have that checklist. I'm definitely going to go check that out. And I was looking at your website before we hopped on, and I saw a couple other really awesome resources that I wanted to point out. You have the sound playlist, right? So
yes.
That's something, I didn't download it myself, but I think there's probably a bunch of like baby noises and different things.
It's all, you know, so these are all moms from the community who recorded their babies.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's like, there's so many different sounds. So we, you know, it's not just like because crying is the most popular, but then there are different types of crying. It's, you know, there could be the loud crying, it could be the hungry baby crying, but there is also a lot of grunting and hiccups. Many dogs are scared of hiccups. There is like, it's just, no, there was like the baby trying to poop and the suckling noises. They're like, the other noises are often more triggering for dogs than crying. Okay. So you really want to like play different sounds for your dog, and you want the newborn sounds, not the like 6-month-old baby. So many people, when you go on YouTube, a lot of times it's an older baby. Older babies' cries is very different from like the newborn baby. And you know, we also have like preemie babies there, and it's just it's a good list. We added the pooping sounds because so many people told us that their dog is terrified of this.
Of the sound of a baby pooping?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So many people. It's like, they were like, yeah, my dog is, but like the baby can cry on top of her lungs. The pooping sounds, when the dog hears it, like he runs to the other room and like won't stop shaking.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so you really want to go through.
I just want to hear it. I just want to download it and hear it myself.
Just download. Yeah. Try it. Yeah, it's there is a grunting as another one that I think is very surprising, because babies are so loud. That was one of the things that I had no idea about this, that babies can be so loud. It's just like especially like after 3 a.m., 4 a.m., they were like, I have twins, right? So they were just like, it was just so loud.
Wow, my gosh.
Yeah, so you really, you want to prepare your dog for different sounds. And yes, I have the sounds, and yeah, we just, I think like 2 or 3 months ago, I posted in my Instagram stories, and the moms kept sending me different noises. I think the only one that's missing right now is a coughing baby. Okay. But, you know, it's
happens so quickly.
You know, yeah. But we will definitely add this one too.
I love it. I love that it's like pure, real sounds, all different things. I love that. You also have a blog post about like dog behavior changing when mom is pregnant, right? And so like, what kind of information can you tell us about? Because sometimes when I have conversations with clients, like, do you think they know I'm pregnant? And I'm like, of course they know you're pregnant. They can smell cancer. Like, they can know when you're about to have a seizure. They can know if, you know, your blood pressure is dropping. Of course they can know that something is, you smell different now, and also you're physically changing. So can you tell us a little bit? I know every dog is different, and I was reading through the blog, and it can manifest in so many different ways. But can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So some dogs are not going to, well, if they know, they're not going to show that they know. And my dog was like that. There was a little bit more sniffing, but it was very subtle. Her behavior was not, was really not that much different. And I know that many moms are kind of disappointed when that happens, because you expect that your dog will know that you're pregnant and the behavior will change, and it doesn't happen. So if it doesn't happen to you, please know it's very normal.
Okay.
And it can be, I think there are two behaviors that I think parents or moms mention a lot. Well, maybe not two, but the two main ones. One is that the dog is very clingy. And that's sometimes it is a dog that was already quite attached. Okay. And now they take it to the next level. Gotcha. And sometimes it is a dog that was very independent, and suddenly they will not leave the mom's side. They just follow her everywhere, and they have to sleep on top of her, and they're always by her side. So it can be very surprising. The other one that can happen is that the dogs are a little bit more protective of the mom, and that can be sometimes it is from the family member, so from the partner, that can happen. That I would say that's probably most often. Yeah, but I think the one that happens more is that it can be more outside on walks. It could be the other dogs or people, especially men. So the dogs are there. You can definitely see that, and then the way, sometimes you see it with if you walk the dog. As a pregnant mom, the dog is protective, and then the husband, let's say, takes the dog on a walk, and the dog is the same, not reactive, doesn't bark at anyone. So you can definitely, if this happens to you and you feel like, especially being pregnant, right, and second trimester or third trimester, I would say it's best that you just don't. If you have to walk the dog in places where they will be reactive a lot, because there is a lot of foot traffic and there are many dogs that walk there, then it's better that someone else walks your dog, because if the more they rehearse it, the more that will stick. And it can be very stressful for you. And plus, it's much harder, especially if you have a bigger dog. So if it is possible and your dog doesn't do this behavior with your partner, then it's best if they just walk your dog. So your dog just you go through this phase, and then they will stop doing this. Sometimes they just stop doing this on their own, but sometimes it continues.
Right. I love that you mentioned that. As you're talking about this, I'm thinking my next questions, and one of my next questions was, is the dog, do they normally stop that behavior? And then my trainer brain's going to, and I'm like, well, it depends on how often they're practicing it.
Exactly.
And now it become a habit, and then now that the mom and baby are two separate, so I'm glad that you mentioned, sometimes you just manage the behavior by having your partner walk the dog. Yeah. Dog still gets what they need. Or maybe the three of you guys going together, maybe the reactivity is less just when the husband's there.
Could be, or you go somewhere else if possible, right? Because sometimes maybe where you walk the dog, it's just it's a busy place, but maybe if you drive somewhere and then you walk in a different place, they could also be more reactive in your neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, that's something I experience with a lot of my clients, reactive clients, not necessarily pregnant, but the reactivity is bigger in more known areas, so that could be something that's going on. What other are there, maybe not, and I'm sure every client's different, obviously. Whenever we talk about dog training, everything's just very generalized. But are there behaviors that you like dogs to know more than others, like a good place bed behavior or something like that? What are some of those that you'd love to
place?
Yeah, it's always the best one.
It is the best one. It really is, and train it on a verbal cue, right? Or because your hands might be busy. So if you are used to pointing and that's what your dog responds to, then now it would be a time to have it on a verbal cue, so it's easier. And also when you practice, hold something, so your dog gets used to the fact that you're holding the baby when you say go to bed. Yeah, so this is something that I would this is something that I would definitely do in training when you prepare. Okay. The other one, well, the thing I've so sometimes people focus so much on my dog needs to know sit and down and go to bed and leave it and drop it and stay and wait, all those things. That's great, but it's much better if your dog actually knows a few things really well than 10 things so-so, and it's just like selective hearing, right? Like
Sure.
it's so if you have to choose something, then focus on solid, go to bed. Then it would be good to have something like stay, ideally, right? Like so good stay command. And I like leave it with children because there is a lot of like with baby stuff, especially like pacifiers or the toys or even the baby or the baby stuff. You can always use leave it or later when the baby drops something. So having a solid leave it it's a very useful cue.
Sure.
So if the one that I added once I had children, it was away.
Okay,
Which is
like that.
yeah, like backup, which is something that I used to train for fun before. But then I realized that once you have children, it's actually a very useful cue with your dog, because a lot of times you just want them to move away from your child.
Yeah.
And you don't want this to be like a stressful command or a stressful cue, right? Like you just want this to be something that you have trained before, so they don't see it as a punishment.
Yeah.
So away was definitely something that I used a lot with Lola when my children were little, and also to move her out of the kitchen or move her out of a certain area. So this was just something that I used a lot personally, and I didn't use it before with her.
Interesting. All right, I have another question that I know it's going to widely vary depending on the client, but speaking in a generalization, idea, do things with babies and dogs get easier or harder as the baby ages? Because you would think perhaps easier because now there's familiarity, now the dog knows baby, but also in some regards I would think harder because now baby is mobile, now baby is grabby. Like, what are some different things that pet parents and I guess parents, period, with dogs and humans, should consider as baby ages?
Yeah. So answering your question with one word, I would say harder.
Harder.
And that's, And when I do polls, that's what people tell me. And I think, I have most of the consults that I do are with families of newly mobile babies. So it's usually, let's say 7-8 month old babies. Up to like two years old.
Okay.
So like a toddler, but a younger toddler. So I mean, what you mentioned, the baby is unpredictable.
Yeah.
And grabby, right? So this is something that's new. And as much as most dogs have seen little children outside, but it's very different when you live with a toddler or with an infant that is now mobile. And first of all, they're crawling, which is something that you usually don't see outside, and it's not something that we do. So many dogs are literally very shocked when it happens for the first time, because it's not like they knew that was coming. So this baby was immobile for let's say 6, 7, 8, 9 months, and suddenly this baby moves. And a lot of times they move in their direction for the first time. And what they do is grab, right? Like reach. And that grab can be quite powerful. Like first of all, they don't know what they do. So a lot of times they hit, they grab, they pull the hair. It's never the same. There are some sounds. So it's very scary to many dogs, even the dogs that were very well socialized. And that was something that I didn't expect that at all. Lola was very well socialized with my friends' toddlers, but she never lived with 2 toddlers, and it was definitely like she was so uncomfortable. She was just sitting there when they were approaching her, and even if they were just petting her sort of gently for a toddler, she was just standing there and like, help. Yes, she was just so stressed. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting, because what Lola, who already likes children, who already is socialized with toddlers specifically, she was not socialized with newborns, but she was socialized with toddlers. And, she really likes people. She has a hard time. What about other dogs? Like, I cannot even imagine. And,
Right.
Lola she was not protective of food. She was not protective of toys. No handling issues. Like, the easiest dog possible for a family. And so this was definitely something that I learned very quickly, that if I want them to be friends, I have to change things, and they just cannot touch her when they want to, because it's not going to end well. It just became very clear that, her body language was very clear to me. Like, she was not into it. She really
Right.
didn't enjoy it. She was not seeking their company. She was okay being in their presence, like in the same room. She loved cleaning after them, under the high chair. Like, there were many things that she liked. She liked going on walks with them. But the moment they were approaching her, and a lot of times it was both of them, it was just too much for her. She was absolutely
Yeah.
not into this. So we changed this. Of course, we had gates, and but it's just like, I really realized that I have to be on top of this. And that definitely, and we just started having very structured interactions, where it was like, you do not pet Lola. So I introduced with them the bubble concept, which I like a lot, where we teach the children that dogs live in bubbles. And we don't go into a bubble because we can pop the bubble. So we just kept going around saying Lola is in a bubble. And then I was also doing board and train. So once the kids were 2.5, I started bringing dogs back home for training. So we had more dogs at home, usually 2 more. And so it was just like a lot of practice of like, dogs live in bubbles.
Yeah.
And that was really, it was a game changer, because they learned, the kids loved that concept, and that really helped them to understand that we do not go up to a dog, especially a sleeping dog or a resting dog, or in general, but we can call the dog, and if they come to us, and they, I was talking a lot about the body language, and and we're practicing consent with petting. So it's just something that it paid off, because once my daughter was 2.5, Lola actually started seeking her company. Like, she was approaching her, and then
Yeah.
my son, who was much more into like baba, right, like very unpredictable. It was a year later, so it wasn't the same. Like, it was literally a year later that she trusted him enough that she actually was okay, like approaching him and being near while he was playing.
Sure. Wow,
Yeah.
how interesting. So yeah, it depends on again, everything always depends on your very specific situation, but it depends on the relationship also, how easy or hard or when that might happen.
Yes.
Very cool. What are some common mistakes that you find new parents do with their dog and their kids?
With newborns or old, or once
Just
they are.
in general, like what it was like, someone like, the most common mistakes that you're like, oh, I wish I would have been able to talk to you before you did that.
Yeah, I think the one that I see that's that people don't think about is that kids watch us, and at first, of course, they don't pay much attention to it. They don't see it, or they don't register it. But as they get older, and a 1-year-old definitely notices a lot, they notice things like, we kiss the dog, right? Or we approach a sleeping dog, or we just hug the dog.
Right.
And then they will, if you tell them one thing, like, we don't do this, but you model it, then they will absolutely copy it. They will. And, and they, of course, will do it in their clumsy way. And that, the dog might absolutely not enjoy that. So it's just, if your dog tolerates something that you do, or they maybe enjoy it, it doesn't mean that they're going to like when the baby does it.
Yeah.
And it can be very unsafe.
Yeah. Oh, I love that piece of advice. That's something that I never would have thought to do.
I know, it's something
act
that
with
you don't,
toddler.
no, it's something that we had to, like, me and my husband, it took us probably 4 months. We were just like you're hugging Lola again. Like
Yeah.
we realized, because I realized, like I saw it one day. I approached Lola, and a minute later, she was sleeping. I approached her. I like got to her level, and I kissed her. Minute later, my son did the same thing, and I was like, "Oh my God! I just showed him what to do, and I absolutely don't want him to do." Also, because we had other dogs at our house, and while Lola was okay with that, right? Like she wasn't happy, but it wasn't like, I knew she would tolerate it, at least if it happens rarely. I mean, other dogs, maybe they would never,
Right.
and maybe they're. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, every dog's different. Their experiences with kids is different. So what one dog might tolerate from you as the mom or the dad, what they might not tolerate from the baby, but then also that relationship with that kid and that dog specific. There's just, again, so many layers to it all.
Yes, yeah, but it's something that let's say the baby turns 1. This is something that I would definitely pay attention to, people always tell me, yes, like I raised my voice at the dog, and now my child says like, no, Fido, no.
Yeah. Or I think even too, one thing, like when your kids are old enough to start having friends over, right? That relationship that your dog has with your child is one thing, but have all these other different types of children coming into the house is definitely way different too.
Yeah.
Sally gets a lot of critiques from my sisters because they're the ones with the children, right? They're the ones that have my nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
And so the first few times that Sully met the kids, I had him wear a muzzle just to be on the safe side. So they call him Hannibal Lecter, and they're always like, Steph, how come you have a bad dog? How come, your dog doesn't know how to be around kids? And I was like, he never socialized to that. And now I can, socialize him to your specific kids, but that doesn't mean he's going to be good with every kid, that comes around. And they always bring back like our past schnauzers in the family. Well, how come Merlin and Nico weren't like that? And I was like, because we were kids. Like we were the kids that were doing the socializing with him. So, and luckily it just got to the point where none of them ever bit us because a lot of this sort of like management and things weren't being
Same.
Yeah.
But I mean, our dog never bit us, but our dog bit many people now that like, so it wasn't like, it was definitely, there was definitely a lot that I would do differently now that I know how things should be done. But yes, the same. Our dog was socialized with us children. But bit.
Or even like I was bit by another dog right here on the mouth. So with my dogs, I probably, if I were to go back and like watch myself doing this, most likely what I'm about to say isn't even true. But my dogs were okay with me like, sitting right here in front of their face, just like staring at them. And, I can't even remember what their faces were looking like at that time to even know if it was actually true that they were okay with that. But my mom and I went over to a friend's house. I think they had just had a baby. And I was playing with the little Shih Tzu, and I did the same thing of just like standing right here in the dog's face. Like he's laying down and I'm like laying down right in front of him. And sure enough, a couple minutes too long and he comes and he bites me, and I'm like, that was my fault in so many different ways. That was my fault. But that's one of those things where I've always been like the dog girl, right? Steph goes anywhere and she's always friends with the dog. I tried to make friends with this one dog who he wasn't okay with that. / also was going through a lot of his own changes in his own home at the same time.
Exactly. It is a very stressful time for the dogs. That's why, the more you prepare, the easier it is.
Absolutely. All right, another tough question. What are some warning signs that might be going on, things that you may have observed that you're like, ooh, intervention is super necessary? Maybe these are like different circumstances that if pet parents are experiencing these things in their home, dog versus baby, like you definitely should call a professional right now. What might be some of those instances?
When you just have a baby, when you just brought the baby home. Yeah.
Any all the above. Like you kind of mentioned you had like that predatory instance with Lola.
Yeah.
Like that was a big light
that
bulb.
would be one of those. So if you notice the same behavior, like most people it wasn't like my dog was not, she had a high prey drive, right? Like I've seen this behavior before. So if your dog has a high prey drive and then you see the same behavior that they do, or they maybe killed small animals,
Sure.
like little bunnies or cats or you know, other creatures, then and then you suddenly see that when you bring the baby home that this is how your dog is acting, yes, then definitely bring in a dog professional, because that's it. Predatory reaction is dangerous because the dog is actually not scared, right? They're hunting. So this is your dog not being scared, and that's depending on the dog's size and the setup. You definitely do not want the dog to be alone with that baby. I mean, never with a newborn, but here you really want to be super, super extra cautious. And you really want to make sure that you have a plan if this happens. So this is something where I definitely would call a dog professional. Another one, if your dog is lunging at the baby and showing aggression, and lunging, barking, about to
big
bite.
reactions to it,
and it's not. If this happens once, sometimes parents reach out to me and they reach out the next day and they're like, oh, things are much better today, right? Like, I think let's just give it a few days. And sometimes they still want to do the session because they're like, oh, no. At this point, I'm just so anxious. I really need, like, even if it's better, I don't trust my dog, right? So it depends. But if any behavior is the same or worse for, let's say, a week or 2 weeks, I wouldn't wait too long, because if it's already like a month, and I had a family who reached out to me after a month, and it took us a really long, we got to a place where, the dog and the baby were able to be on the same, like the dad was holding the baby and the dog was next to them on the couch, and that was huge. But because we started after a month of the dog trying to get to the baby and just bite the baby, it took us 4.5 months, right? Like, to get to a place where typically it takes less time. It could be for like 2 weeks to 2 months on average. Sure. So it's just not something, and it's very stressful. So one of the things is, like, if it keeps happening every day, it's just going to have, like, it will probably affect your mental health.
Absolutely. And already a time that's stressful in general to have this on
exactly. So it's not something like, I would just like give yourself a time where, whether it's a week or 2 weeks, but I would not go, I wouldn't wait longer. Or, if you feel like, okay, right now I cannot address it because there are other reasons, then maybe the dog can stay with a family member for a little bit, so everyone has a break. And then once you feel better, then you can address it, right? Or if they have someone like you, that the dog goes to a place that they trust, and the dog, that the dog will be in good hands. So this is something that, I always tell parents, if it's really, really stressful and they have a good place to send the dog to, do it. It's what I did. So when I brought Lola home, and, it happened, like, this scary thing, and then we had this night of her, like, pretty much standing the whole night with the paw up and, like, being hyper fixated on my kids behind the fence in the crate. Yeah. Right? I don't think she slept a minute that night. And so the next day, the dog walker took her and, took her for a few days. And I was like, I just need to think, right? Like, I just need, first of all, I was crying. And then I was like, I don't want to rehome my baby. This is like my baby, meaning Lola. Yeah. And it was just it was absolutely traumatizing. But then I had some time, and I just like, okay, I'm a trader. I know what to do. I just need to think about the plan. Yeah. But it was very helpful that she could go to the dog walker for, I don't remember now, 2 nights, 3 nights, right? And then I didn't have to worry about this, because we lived in 1 bedroom at that time. So, like, it was really, she was just too close. Yeah. And it was not helpful to have her so close to the children.
Yeah. I love that idea, having, a family member, boarding facility, somewhere you trust in case you ever get in a pickle. So I think kind of just to wrap things up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
We plan, right? Now you know that you're pregnant. We have lots of time, to start getting things in motion. How desperate you are depends on your dog and kind of how you already know. We train, we start to implement things and changes, so that way changes don't happen when baby comes, but we start implementing all of those things beforehand. I think having some backup plans, you mentioned the dog walker and things like that. There's also lots of management that we can be doing. Baby gates obviously are big, not just for the babies, but for the dogs as well. So there's lots of different things, but I'm sure, like you mentioned, like rehoming sometimes is something that some people possibly need to consider. Have there been some sort of situations that, like with your clients, that like maybe it's just the best for everyone if we do rehome, or what might be some of those circumstances?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I work with, right now, most of my cases, I would say 80% of my clients, it's after a bite to a child, right?
80%, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just I specialize in this right now. Yeah. So it's, of course, one of the questions on the forum is, have you thought about rehoming your dog? And it's not that everyone says yes, but yes, most people, of course, they say yes. That's
it's a thought at least.
Yes, it's something that we just want your assessment and see if this is even safe to keep our dog, right? So it's something that comes up a lot in those type of consultations. But it also, when even before a bite, but let's say the dog is already growling at the baby, that's another type of consultations that I do, is that's also something that some people are like, I don't know if I can live with a dog that makes me so anxious. And I would say, with the and these are parents who, are like really all, like, they love their dogs and they want the best for their dog, right? So I'm talking about dog parents who, if they rehome, they will do it because they love their dog and they want the best for the dog and for their family. It's not a decision, they invest money to meet with me, and they really invest time a lot of times to work on this. So this is just something that, I'm sure there are many people who just rehome their dog.
Sure.
And of course, I don't know if you worked at a shelter. I did. It does happen, right? Like people bring dogs to the shelter when they have a baby or something doesn't go well. So this is a little bit different here, but it's, there is, of course, like what happened, like that's one of the reasons why people think about rehoming, and then was it the first time, and is this something that was like, to me, when I look at a bite, I assess it and I know, like, this is like, it's very different if it was a 1-year-old dog or a 10-year-old dog that has arthritis and it was a level 2, or if it's a 1-year-old dog and that was like a level 4 bite, right? And then the dog has history of other things that were a little bit concerning. So you just look at the big picture of what's going on here. Then what's very important is also, like, how are you on the same page? And I recently had a consultation with a very lovely family where the bite happened, and it was definitely like, that's the hard part, because when you look at the pictures and videos, I asked for videos, and you can see the body language, right? And the parents see, and sometimes they're actually really good at reading, but they just didn't, like, they thought the dog was tolerant, right? And then the dog was tolerant, and until one day the dog wasn't tolerant. And now there's this guilt where looking at the videos, that this was coming, right? Like the dog was just showing that stress every time the baby was near.
Right.
And it was just, it's not out of nowhere.
Right.
And so it's, this is, so are you on the same page? That's a big one here. So I recently had a family where the dad was absolutely, like, he just wanted to rehome the dog, even if, my assessment was actually, it would be like, that was one of the situations where there were very predictable triggers, and it was just like a very light level 2 bite, in an older dog who has otherwise been really great with the kids. And again, like, you know, it's sometimes you just have to work probably with a couples therapist to address this, because it's just, you know, like sometimes you have to work on this with like not just as, you know, with a dog trainer or a dog behaviorist, but also like, what do you want as a family? And then there is also the you know, if one person feels that they cannot handle it, because it's like that was the case here, where the dad said, sometimes it's the dad, sometimes it's the mom, where they say the cost of it and the stress that I'm going to feel is too high. I'm going to be constantly stressed every time the dog is near the child, right? And it's just something that, like, if I'm anxious all the time, that's also hard, right? And then the dog will be probably separated more, and the dog will feel the stress. So sometimes, you know, it's just too much to handle, because it's just too much. And sometimes, like, I lived in one bedroom at that time, you know, and if you live in a smaller place, it's much harder than if you live in a big house, and the dog can be in this part of the house and the child can be here, and it's just much easier. So sometimes it's also the setup. It really does play a role. It's also important, like, are you going to have more children? Do you have other dogs? Are there any other things that are just very important? Maybe you take care of someone else, of your like older parent, and it's just, you know, it's not black and white. I know that there are many people who are like I will never rehome. Well, sometimes they share. They were like, yes, I thought I would never be this person until I was in this situation where I just had to, right? And it wasn't because I wanted to. It was just one of those I have a medical baby, and my husband is deployed, and I have 5 other children, and I just don't have time for the dog right now, even if we love the dog. So it's, you know, it's just, sometimes, you know, you find a better home for your dog because it's just going to be better for everyone. And then there are, of course, situations where, you know, if the dog already is the tough ones, I would say, is the resource guarders, where they're resource guarders with bite history and no warnings, and they guard everything, right? They guard location, they guard items, they guard everything that's near them, and it's very hard to predict. And I worked with a few, and it's I have to say, it's almost impossible with little kids. Things, you know, management will fail with little kids. It will fail. And this is just one of those things that you have to realize that it will fail. There's, you know, it happened to me too, in a different, and we paid a high price with my dog killed my parents' cat. Because management failed because of little children, because someone left something open, right? So it's just, or someone can climb over something. It's just something that can happen. So it's important that you're realistic.
Absolutely.
If you have a dog that has bite history and they are protective of a lot of stuff, I think that's something that you have to, like, I used to be much more like, oh, you can work on this. But it wasn't, you know, like, I share everything that happens to me, because it's, you know, you know, it was definitely something that we, like, it just happened, right? Like, it was failed management. And we always tell clients as trainers, right? Like, management fails. And with children, with young children, especially if you have multiple children, different ages, and let's say, you know, you have an infant, and then you have a toddler, and that toddler is 3, and now they can climb everywhere and open everything, right? And they just are very proud of this. They can open something, and then the baby can get somewhere, and then the baby can get too close to an eating dog, let's say, right, or something. It's just like, there are certain things that can happen, and unless you have like a bulletproof management system, if this is a dog with bite history that guards everything, I personally would think twice
Yeah.
if I actually want this dog in my house, or this dog would be better somewhere else.
Interesting. Got it. Yeah. Lots of things to consider, lots of layers, lots of factors, lots of, things to just think about. Having kids and dogs, I'm sure, is a very rewarding and beautiful thing to do, to have, right? I came from a family that had dogs pretty much since I was born, and that's why I love dogs so much. But just, making sure that everyone is safe and happy. There's good days, there's bad days. Learn from experiences, and I think follow awesome professionals like you on things like Instagram, social media, whether you have the kids or not. Like, I've been following your stuff. Number one, it's just great content.
Thank you.
It's organized, great, it's beautiful, good information without being too overbearing. So I've been, eating that up, even though I don't have any kids, and also sharing that with people who I know are pregnant with dogs also. So it's great information. So Dominika, thank you so much for being with me today. I learned so much. I knew that I was going to learn a lot, and I learned even more so than I anticipated and expected. So I really appreciate you, your platform, all the work that you're doing. I definitely will be putting your website as well as some of your social media stuff in my show notes as well. Are you on Facebook and Instagram, or mostly just Instagram?
No, Facebook too.
Facebook too. Awesome. So everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation. Dominika, thank you so much for being with me. And is there anything else that you want the listeners to know before I let you go?
Well, I just want to end on a good note, and
let's do that.
and let everyone know that it's just having dogs and children is it's probably one of the most amazing things when they get along and they form their relationship with the family dog. That's not you're not part of it. And, when they have their own little things that they do with the dog, and just watching them becoming friends with the dog. And, we have a young dog, we have a puppy, and we had an old dog, and it was just they were just so different. They're so gentle with our old dog, and, just so crazy and joyful with the puppy. It's just one of the most, it's something that I always wanted, and I cannot imagine not having a dog. And, when we're ready, we'll definitely adopt another dog.
Yeah.
So yes, it's something that, it's absolutely worth doing, even if, it's sometimes there will be ups and downs, and it's not going to be the toddlerhood, especially. That's, it can be a little bit tricky with children and dogs, but then once you're on the other side, it's actually amazing.
I love that. Rewarding as all heck, I'm sure.
Yes, very much so. And it's just, it's like the younger dog, it's actually my daughter's dog, and she takes such a good care of her, and she trains her, and she always makes sure that she's, we do the things that she tells us to do.
She's in charge.
Yes, she's in charge, and she takes it very seriously. And it's just amazing. Right. It's just, I can really see how much it helps children. They, when they are taking care of the dog, how much they grow as people, and how much empathy they have. It's, I grew up with dogs. I grew up on a farm. You grew up with dogs, right? It's just something that just, it has a huge impact on you as a person.
Absolutely. Yeah. We became dog trainers because of it. So
yeah,
huge impact.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very good. Well, Dominika, thank you so much for your time. Again, your expertise. You're amazing. This conversation was beautiful. I look forward to maybe having you on the podcast at a different time, especially as your platform grows. So thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys at the next episode. Have a good one. Now, that might be the end of the episode, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Follow us on social media. I'd love to connect with you. We have quite a few social media platforms. For nutrition and holistic pet care tips, follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Steph the Pro Dog Mom. You can find fun training tips on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Pup and Away SA. If If you're in San Antonio and you want to bring your dog to us for boarding, training, socialization, and nutrition, come find us. But if you're not in San Antonio, we do training and nutrition sessions virtually. Yes, they can be just as effective, I promise. Please rate, review, and subscribe to my podcast on whatever platform you listen on. And please, please, please share with a friend. The positive reinforcement of knowing people actually listen to this and find it valuable helps motivate me to keep on recording. We'll see you guys at the next episode.